Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Continuing to take a look at the next week's slate, heading down to the Big 12 as BYU heads on the road to play Texas. And when you want to start looking at this game, got to mention the Texas injuries, right? Quinn Ewers going to miss some time. Maalik Murphy going to be the guy for the next couple weeks as you still get information about Quinn Ewers and what that timetable looks like. But it's not just the quarterback position. A little dinged up on the offensive line and in that back end of this Texas defense. Now, the reason I was so high on Texas heading into the season was really good on the lines of scrimmage, one of the more talented rosters that you see in college football. But more importantly, this was a really deep team heading into the season. And if you want to be a national championship caliber team, depth is really important. Like, you're going to have stretches of this in the season where you got to rely on some of the guys in the 2 and 3 deep to step up and win some football games. And I'm pretty confident that Texas has the guys to be able to do so. Really excited to get into this one. BYU playing rock solid, winning the turnover margin, not committing a lot of penalties. This is going to be a fun one. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys. The support that you guys have shown for all of these game breakdowns, it truly means a lot. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. More importantly, best part about doing this, hearing from you guys, talking ball with you guys in the comment section. So picks, predictions, keys to the matchup, let me know in the comment section. We'll chop it up. Without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to start with this Texas offense and what it might look like without Quinn Ewers. Now, if you're a sicko, you were watching the Texas spring game and reading the fall camp notes, you know Maalik Murphy's a guy. Maalik Murphy, I think, is someone that if he wanted to hit the transfer portal in the summer, probably would have been the most coveted target in the transfer portal. Extremely talented, very big body, very big arm, can make it happen with his legs. That spring game, like, that was a guy that he could start on a lot of Power 5 teams. And for Texas, I'm not saying Maalik Murphy's going to be Quinn Ewers and it's going to look the exact same, but I'm a lot more confident in Texas turning the quarterback too than I would be a lot of other teams at the Power 5 level. Maalik Murphy is an absolute guy, and I think this Texas offense is designed really well to be able to play with the backup quarterback that even if you do have a little less trust in, this Texas offense, I think he'll just be fine. And one of the reasons we were so high in Texas was they are elite up front, have a really good offensive line, and can run the football at a high level. And so Maalik Murphy, they're going to lean on the run game. You saw that when Quinn Ewers went down, they were leaning on that run game that offensive line to road grade and those running backs to get after it. And that's exactly what they did, right? Jonathan Brooks emerging as one of the better running backs in the Big 12. CJ Baxter probably had his best game in the Texas Longhorns uniform. I look at this Texas offense. I think they'll be able to run the football. And Coach Sark is one of the best offensive minds, especially when it comes to scheming with his personnel that's presented to him. And luckily for Texas, you look at some of the guys on the outside, there are a lot of players that can make things happen with the football in their hands. So you're not going to necessarily have to ask Maalik Murphy to drop back in the pocket a ton. You can give him some quick hitters, right? Xavier Worthy, probably the most explosive wide receiver with the football in his hands in space. A.D. Mitchell, a guy that can make plays. Jordan Whittington, J.T. Sanders, another guy who is a really, really good with yards after catch. Maalik Murphy, I'm pretty confident this Texas offense will be just fine while Quinn Ewers is out because, one, you can run the football, and two, you got a lot of playmakers that can make it easy on Maalik Murphy in this offense. Now, looking at this BYU defense, from a talent standpoint, it's not great, right? Teams are running the football, allowing 4.5 yards per carry. That's 89th in the country. BYU does a really good job not giving up the big play, right? They give up a 62% completion percentage. That's 89th in the country. Nothing to write home about. That being said, only 6.7 yards per pass. That is top 35. So they'll give you some completions, but they're going to come up and tackle. And when I look at keys to the game here, one of the things is Texas loves scheming up big plays, getting their guys in space and getting after it yards after the catch. BYU has been really good coming up, tackling, and rallying to the football. They've also been really good forcing turnovers, 2.4 turnovers per game. This is a BYU team that, again, going to why they're sitting at 5-2. It's not because they have a chock full list of talented 5-stars. It's because they're playing really disciplined football, right? Not missing tackles, forcing turnovers, not committing penalties. And at the college football level, that will win you a lot of football games if your talent is not quite there. And that's exactly what BYU is doing now. Flipping sides here, BYU on offense, it's been, I think, choppy. I was really high on some earlier performances of Keaton Slovis. I thought he kind of looked back to that form that he was at with USC. The last couple weeks, not so much. What I am a little optimistic about is the run game is picking up, and that was the bugaboo for BYU. I mean, they're still 120th in terms of yards per carry, only averaging 2.9 yards per carry on the ground. But they were able to do it a little bit against Texas Tech, and that will help take a lot of pressure off this offense. One of my biggest critiques on this BYU offense was they're sitting in third and long a lot because they can't win on first and second down. If BYU can get a little something going on the run game and continue that success, I think you'll see a little bit more smooth of a BYU offense as they continue to get back some weapons in that wide receiver room. Cody Epps kind of waiting for him to have a breakout. Now, the tough part for BYU is this Texas front seven is absolutely dominant, especially with the team that's struggling to run the football. This is a Texas front seven that you don't want to struggle running the football against, right? T'Vondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Alfred Collins, like dogs on the inside. Probably the best linebacker duo, or maybe linebacker group, I should say, in the Big 12. Jalen Ford, David Benda, Anthony Hill's been playing some really good football. This is a front seven that is really, really hard to run the football against. And BYU, if they try to do it, it's going to be tough sledding to do so. When you look at this Texas defense, and I think a lot of Texas fans, after watching that film again this morning against Houston, would agree with, is you probably want to attack the back end right now. And this is not a bad group by any means for Texas, but they're banged up. And you saw Houston, they have a gunslinger at quarterback in Donovan Smith. Really good wide receivers, guys like Matthew Gould and Sam Brown. They were able to get Texas a little bit off balance in that back end. And the communication in the zone coverages, it was sloppy, to be nice about it, for Texas, especially in that third quarter, going into the second half, late second, I should say late second quarter, early third quarter. And then it got better towards the end of the game. But for BYU, if you're looking at maybe right now where Texas might be vulnerable, it is in that back end, right? Jahad Barron, from what I read, they didn't want to play him, but they kind of had to play him. Jalen Catalon banged up, Ryan Watts banged up. The safeties back there, Crawford, a good athlete, but seemed lost at times. Like, there were a lot of broken coverages and just way too easy of completions for Donovan Smith. If you're Texas, that's probably what you're a little bit most concerned with. Now, for Texas on defense and what you're looking for to kind of look like a national championship caliber team, I would like to see the pass rush turn up a little bit. If you win on first and second down and BYU struggles to run the football and you get them into some of those third and longs, that pass rush, I think, is leaving a little bit to be desired, right? You look at some of the numbers. Barron Sorrell leads the team with 14 quarterback hurries, and then the next three in the list are all interior guys, right? T'Vondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Alfred Collins, in that order. And even Barron Sorrell at times, maybe a little underwhelming, a guy that I thought could be a first-team All-Big 12 or potentially All-American caliber edge rusher. I don't think you've quite seen that from Texas. Now, the good thing for Texas, I think they have the capability to do it. I just don't think you've seen it yet. And for BYU, this is probably an opportunity for Texas to maybe ramp it up, right? Win on first and second down against a team that has been struggling to run the football in early down situations. And when you get them in third and long, can you dial up some pressure? Can your front four win? And that will take a lot of pressure off that secondary that, as of right now, I think you have a lot of question marks about. Heading into the pick, Texas 17.5-point favorites at home against BYU. I'm going to lean Texas here, and I don't love taking the 17.5 points with a backup quarterback and a team that's kind of banged up. I think at the end of the day, I think the matchup is really good. And if you don't turn the ball over, you don't beat yourself against this BYU team, because that's kind of what BYU does. They make you beat yourself, forcing turnovers, making you commit penalties. BYU doesn't do any of that. They don't turn the ball over. They don't commit penalties. If Texas can play their brand, run the football, establish that run against a front seven for BYU that struggles to stop the run, and then get after the passer, win on first and second down, get after it. This BYU team, I think, is too choppy on the offensive side of the ball as of right now for me to have enough confidence to take them heading on the road and covering that number against Texas. I'll ride with Texas, banged up, but I think this is a really good opportunity to get some confidence on that defensive side of the ball and, quite frankly, get healthy and get some of these guys back as they go to that back half of the Big 12 schedule and potentially a rematch with the Sooners in the Big 12 championship game. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys again. These game breakdowns, absolute blast. I have a blast doing them, but the amount of support y'all show, it really does mean a lot. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate y'all, and we'll talk to you guys later.